G'day, it's Robbie again. Well, the other night I was sitting down having a glass of red and mulling over the day's activities. And I was thinking, I wonder what the biggest selling items are in the metalwork, metal lathe side of things on Banggood. I thought, I wonder what are the big sellers. So anyway, I thought, I'll send an email to my contact and see if he can get me a list. So anyway, banged off an email and I got a reply back and got numbers 1 to 10, 1 being the biggest seller. The top 3 were very interesting. I mean, some of these items sort of repeat because there are similar items in different sizes, sort of you might have a 12mm tooling set or a 10mm or an 8, so, you've got to sort of take it with a pinch of salt. But anyway, the top 3 were interesting. Particularly number 2, that was really interesting. It surprised me. I'd never thought that would be the item that would be a big seller. And we're talking like 3,000 to 4,000 of these items. So yeah, when you get up to the really popular items, yeah, it's big numbers. So I thought, okay, let's get number 2 and get it here, and I'll have a look at it and just see what it's like. And it's something that I've not got, something I've had very little experience with. None of my lathes have got it on them. So, what is it? I'll show you. Here it is. NI quick change tool post and holder kit. I'm not sure if the MI uppercase is meant to be that way or whether the I should have been lowercase or whether MI even make it, but I presume it's a spelling error anyway. Mini quick change tool post and holder kit. No no maker's name on it. Tells you what it's got. On both ends are the same. Well, let's look inside, see what we've got. Now, I saw these a long time back and they interested me. They look really nice, but the fact I'm made out of aluminium sort of put me off a bit. I thought, well, I wonder how good that would be. I can only assume it's a really hard sort of aluminium. So in the box you get a couple of Allen keys or hex wrenches, which would obviously be for fastening, using the fasteners. Here's some spare fasteners that hold your tooling in, and here's some more spare ones here with a head on them. They're not the plain internal type like that. The rest of the tooling's got fitted, so yeah, you get 4 of those. And then you get the 4 tool holders, various sizes. They do what the end of the box says they do, and then you get the actual piston section. It's got pistons. These work on a cam and a piston, or 2 pistons depending on which side you use. And they're not an Aloris type. These are different. And here you have the centre cam action. It all looks well made, within reason. I mean, these aren't very expensive, these sets, and I know people will be saying, oh, hey Rob, you don't use quick change tool posts because you think there's some negative aspects with them. Well, there are some negative aspects with them in so much as you're adding another level of complexity to your tool post. There's more places for movement and flex, and depending on how you mount them, you can also have a lot more overhang on an already weak tool post. Remember, you're using it on small lathes and they're never going to be as beefy as the big heavy ones, so you want to minimise any flex as much as possible, either in the compound mount or in the top slide tool holding side of things. Anyway, Banggood have sent me this. As I said,
This is the second biggest selling item in the metalwork lathes database. Very, very popular. They've sold heaps of these. So there must be something going for them, and all the reviews also are positive. So, well, 99% of them are very positive. Now, I mean, once again, this is only meant, I think, for a lathe up to no more than 10-inch swing, and even then I think that might be pushing it a bit. I think they're probably best suited for, I'd say, 7 or 8-inch, 9-inch swing lathe. They should be perfect for a mini lathe. Now, what am I going to do with this thing? Well, I actually got it with the idea of putting it on the Shawblin 102, because that's only got a lantern tool post holder. You can't use a boring bar in a lantern tool post holder. You can't use carbide in a lantern tool post holder. It will just chatter to hell. So I've only ever been using high-speed steel in the Shawblin, and it works fine for that. So this actually could be really handy. I know people are going to throw things at me and say, you sacrilegious bastard, you know, putting Chinese stuff on a Swiss-made piece of equipment. But hey, like, you know, get real, guys. This is the real world, and if it works, it does the job, and it makes life easier, well, we'll do it. So that's where it's going to go. It's going to go on the Shawblin. Well, that's the plan. I'll take all the bits out of the box and we'll look at them separately. And here's all the bits and pieces you get. It's all really well made. I've got the bolt I'll use in the unit. You get another bolt which is a smaller diameter for a smaller sized lathe, I presume, smaller T-slots. I'll be screwing into a mount for a T-slot. And of course this Allen key, the bigger one, fits the bolt heads on the parting off blade holder, and the little one fits all the others. You don't get an Allen key for either of the retaining bolts. You have to supply your own, and you get some spare screws for these units. Yeah, it's all pretty good. There's no instructions. I presume you have to oil the piston and the cam, which I have already done actually. And I actually asked Banggood for some extra holders to help me out, and also to see how they compare, and they are absolutely identical to the others. There's no difference whatsoever. They just slide on, no problem, and you know, everything's good, everything's roses. So yeah, overall it's looking very, very good. So I suppose it's a matter now of yeah, getting on with it. Right, well I'll show you why I don't use a quick change tool post on this Chinese lathe, or any of my lathes actually. With a 4-way tool post holder, you can see that your tooling sits within the confines of the top slide, and it's as close to the centre pivot point as you can get it. Okay, now when you fit a quick change tool post, you can see that the tool block is overhanging on both the X, and it will overhang on the Y axis. Now your tooling is actually going to sit out even further, so because it's not all going to be within the confines of the block. So what I'm saying is, if you've got chatter issues already, going to a quick change tool post isn't a good idea, I don't think, because it's just going to exacerbate the situation. I don't have chatter problems at all, so yeah, it would work fine on this, but I would have to machine that block out, off, get rid of that, and have a flat top, and I would have to put a different bolt arrangement in, but it would fit. Now, I'm just showing you this just to make you aware of the situation. Also, if you go to a bigger quick change tool post, it's going to push the tool holder out even further. Now there is an upside to this, and that is if you've got lead screw covers like I have, which restrict your travel towards the headstock, a quick change tool post holder will actually make life more pleasant, because you'll be able to come in closer to the chuck jaws before the covers actually stop you. So yeah, it's got some pluses and it's got some minuses, and of course you've got the convenience of it, and that's the big thing, the convenience of it. You can just quickly change your tooling. But as I said, if you've got any chatter issues, think twice about it, because in all probability it will possibly make it worse. All right, let's move on and we'll have a look at the old Schaublin, and yeah, we'll see how it fits. Okay, so here's the old Schaublin, and as you can see, this has got T-slots on the top of the top slide. It's got a massive top slot as well, because it's a toolmaker's lathe. The beauty of this is, of course, you can mount your quick change holder anywhere you want. You can have overhang or you can have no overhang. So I'll obviously put it there, and you can bring it in if you want to, say, use a boring bar to reduce any overhang on the other axis. Okay, so you can eliminate any overhang on both axes. So I'll be putting it there for most things. Now, to mount that, I simply made up a thread block, which goes in like so, and the quick change holder will sit on there like that with the bolt down through the middle of it. So I'll bolt it up, and we'll do some turning with it, and we'll just see how well it works. The tool post fits this lathe absolutely perfectly. You can tell because the tool holder is pretty much dead centre on the block itself, directly opposite the piston, which is where you want it. That way you're going to have less chance of any canting or twisting. So yeah, try and line it up with that piston dead against the centre section, and you should be right. So this drops on. When you pull it up, there's a really virtually no change whatsoever, and it always returns to the same point when you cam it up. So that's about as good as you could hope for. It's really good, particularly when you consider it's just a budget unit. Yeah, very impressive. So I guess it's time now to check out the rigidity and do a bit of turning. So that's what's next. All right, we're good to go. So let's fire it up and see what happens. Good. I'm going a bit heavier. Wow, that's good. That's nice. Yeah, seems to work pretty nice. I'll put a boring bar on it and see how it goes with a boring bar, and yeah, that'll do it. Just before we do that, I put a 12mm indexable carbide cutter into the tool post mount, and it's got a shot profiled tip on it, a reborn tip. It actually generally works pretty good. I mainly use it for machining away from the headstock, but anyway, we'll go both ways and see how it goes. This is pretty soft, old, rubbishy steel.
Yeah, it worked okay. As good as you could hope for on that trash. Okay, let's move on. Well, it looks like the boring bar test won't take place, not until later anyway. All my boring bars are 10 mil, and this is 3/8, which is just a bit smaller. So at some stage I'll just have to drill out the holder and set it up so it takes the 10 mil. So we can't do that. Anyway, overall I think rigidity wise it's fine. It's way better than what was on here before, and it's, yeah, no complaints whatsoever. Everything pulls up nice, repeats nice when you put the tooling back in, and the whole thing is great. So we'll wrap up now, and basically that's as far as I can go with this review. I think it's brilliant, really brilliant for the money, and I can't really find anything to fault with it, quite frankly. It's very, very, very good. I can understand now why they've sold so many of these and why so many people like them. And all I can say is, yeah, if you've got a small lathe and you want to go quick change, well, this is probably best bang for buck for sure. Okay, so that was number 2. Coming up, we'll do number 1, best, biggest seller in the metal lathe side of things. It's probably pretty predictable, but anyway, stay tuned. See you next time. Cheers.